Hi, everyone. My name is Chad Peters. I'm President and CEO of Ridgeline Minerals. Today, I'm going to give you a high-level overview of the company, our exploration portfolio in Nevada, and some of the really exciting deals we've done with our partners, Nevada Gold Mines. Ridgeline trades on the TSX Venture under RDG and the OTCQB under RDGMF. And we will get started. So here's a quick disclaimer. Obviously, I'm an exploration geo at heart, so there may be some forward-looking statements. Please do your own due diligence. So Ridgeline Minerals, quick update on the company here. We're focused solely on Nevada, 195 square kilometer exploration portfolio. This is one of the top ranked jurisdictions in the world. Frankly, discoveries in Nevada are worth more than discoveries in a lot of other jurisdictions globally. And that's why we focus our energy and our hard to come by exploration capital on this jurisdiction. We have 5 projects, a mix of precious and base metals. And I think our highlight discovery would be our Selena project, which is 100% owned, high grade silver, lead, zinc, gold, plus or minus copper discovery that has significant growth potential. We kind of think of this as almost like a Taylor type potential discovery, like what South 32 is advancing in Arizona. We also have 2 deals with Nevada Gold Mines, and these are kind of the cornerstone of the company. We have $40 million US in earn-in deals across our Swift and Black Ridge projects. Really highlights the incredible discovery potential of both. NGM is spending serious money at both of these projects, with $7.5 million spent to date, as well as another $5.2 million going in the ground this year alone, which would actually be our largest US exploration budget in the company's history, fully funded by our partners. So we're really excited about the potential there. We also have a great exploration pipeline of projects, mostly focusing right now on copper and CRD projects like our Big Blue project, which is also in Nevada. And, when you look at the team, what we've had a lot of success with in the past is discovery. Myself, Mike Harp, we've both been living in Nevada for combined over 25 years. We've both led multi-million ounce gold discoveries with our respective previous companies, and we struck out, formed Ridgeline, wanted to do it for ourselves. So Dwayne Lowe, our CFO, he currently is with Entrée Resources, which is part owners of the OT project in Mongolia. Big experience and background in the copper space, and a great member of the team. So for cap structure, we recently completed a raise. We actually closed it last week on May 8th. And post-raise, we have about 2.3 million cash Canadian in the treasury. Management owns about 7.8%. Non-dilutive float of 110 million shares. And some of our largest shareholders include Paul Stevens out of San Francisco, Rick Rule, obviously doesn't need much of an introduction, Merck Investments, another San Francisco US-based fund. Lots of a good mix of funds, high net worth individuals, and corporations like EMX Royalty Corp, who helped us get the original land position up and off the ground when we started the company. So I myself own 3.3% of the company. I'm one of the largest individual shareholders in the company. I've put about 150,000 Canadian of my own cash into the company since we founded it, and really excited to make this thing a success. So really want to hit home our partner projects first. Here's a map of Nevada, specifically the Battle Mountain and Carlin Trends. Our Black Ridge and Swift earn-in deals are the $40 million deals with Nevada Gold Mines. These are projects that sit directly beside some of the largest gold mines on the planet and have great exploration potential. Then I'll start walking you through our 100% owned portfolio, which I mentioned before is primarily focused on porphyry copper and base metal CRD deposits along kind of a parallel trend to the Battle Mountain and Carlin Trends. That we've really been focusing on for the last 5 years. So we'll get into that after. So just before we do that, I kind of want to hit home our business model. So we started as a company back in 2019. We were just purely an explorer. Now, what we realized, though, is obviously exploration is a risky business. And as the market started to turn, we realized we needed to bring on partners to make sure we were seeing some of our core projects getting advanced. So what we now focus on is we have our pipeline of projects, right? Early stage projects that we stake. We then do a first round of drilling on those projects ourselves, do that kind of legwork, see what kind of potential the project has. And what we've been able to ink is 2 deals with Nevada Gold Mines, which are in that kind of early stage discovery territory. And we hope, as partners in the projects, it hits a point where there's a major discovery made and we can monetize that asset. We also have our Selena project, which is just below the maiden resource level right now. We haven't put out a resource yet, but we could if we're pretty close to being able to put one out. That's 100% owned and something we're pretty excited about as well. So just to highlight the kind of how this business model is really starting to work for us. It's taken a few years for it to really take off. But just to highlight how much money Ridgeline has invested in our projects and our partner projects versus how much is potentially being invested through those deals. So life of project across both Black Ridge and Swift, we've invested $4.3 million US over about a 2-3 year period. In return, our deals are seeing over 40 million US in spending. That's a leverage of about 800+% on every Ridgeline dollar spent. Our partners are putting another 800% leverage on that dollar and trying to make a discovery. On top of that, Ridgeline retains a fully carried 25% interest to commercial production across both of these deals. So not only are we seeing serious money being spent on these projects, but if a discovery is made, Ridgeline isn't going to get diluted out of that discovery, right? There's that opportunity for us to participate at a meaningful level all the way to commercial production without us having to issue a share or put any capital into developing that asset all the way to commercial production. So we think these are incredibly valuable deals. Obviously, there needs to be some success with the drill bit, and that's what we're hoping that the 2024 program is going to do for us. With over $5 million being spent at Swift alone, we hope there's a big discovery made this year. So, kind of a bit of a hurry up and wait scenario, I guess. We want to see those drill results coming out this fall, but great potential. And that kind of leads to why would a minority joint venture interest matter to you as a shareholder? Well, you look back historically, when you make a significant discovery, a minority interest can yield outsized returns for its investors. Our two deals with Nevada Gold Mines have the potential to deliver the kind of torque that you see across these charts. Obviously, these names don't need much of an introduction, right? Big discoveries globally. And the way we structured these deals, we think we could see a similar return if a discovery is made. Now, if a discovery is not, Ridgeline hasn't had to put any capital into the ground since these deals were initiated to get to that decision point. So it's a win either way. So first, I'm going to walk you through our partner projects. Going to keep this really quick. Highlight here, $30 million deal. $7.2 million has already been spent on exploration expenditures. NGM has to spend a minimum of $20 million in the first 5 years of the deal to earn an initial 60% interest. So they still have a lot of money that needs to go in the ground before they can exercise that initial ownership stake. Here's the way the deals are structured. Started with a cash reimbursement. The initial earn-in, $20 million for 60%, of which I mentioned $7.2 million has been spent already, and $5 million more is going in the ground this year. So they still won't have hit their minimum spend even by the end of 2024. If they make a discovery and choose to elect for a second earn-in, they can spend another $10 million to earn a total of 75% interest in the project. And then that would then trigger the development option for Ridgeline to retain that 25% free carried interest all the way to commercial production. So we've tried to minimize and eliminate risk wherever we can in the way we structure our deals. And we always try to partner with a major that has the ability to take these projects all the way to the finish line if a discovery is made. So just want to highlight the discovery potential here at Swift. Here's the close-up of the Cortez district. You can see our project here in yellow is one of the largest land positions in the district, not owned by Nevada Gold Mines. And as you can see, Kinross just inked a $20 million deal with the neighboring PWC project owned by Riley Gold. What it shows to me is that this is a tier 1 district. You're seeing majors coming in, going after early stage exploration projects. And if a discovery is made, we own a district scale position here. So with some of the highlight intercepts include 51 meters of 0.2 grams per ton, obviously low grade, right? 48 meters of half a gram per ton was drilled in 2022. These are big, widespread gold intercepts. The question is how can NGM use that $5 million budget this year and vector in on high-grade mineralization? Just going to show you kind of a 3D here of what that looks like. I don't know if it ever loads. There we go. So here's the Cortez district. What's really important to point out here is the structural setting here at Swift is analogous to what you see at Cortez Hills and the 4 Mile and Gold Rush discoveries. So when you turn and look down this fault zone, here's the Cortez fault right here. Big, long, 30 kilometer, 50 kilometer long structure. Every time you get cross-cutting fault zones, you end up with a 10 to 20 million ounce gold mine. As you can see, they periodically jump these structures every 5 to 6 kilometers. And Swift would be that next jump from the Pipeline mine, which is a 23 million ounce deposit. That gets us really excited. There's an old gold mine or an old barite mine here, an old gold mine at surface at Elder Creek. NGM will be putting their energy into this area right here in 2024, hoping to go in, vector in on high-grade mineralization. Hopefully we can find something that looks a lot like the 4 Mile or Gold Rush deposits. Here's a section looking at what they've drilled so far, life of project. As you can see, over kilometers of strike. This is about roughly, let me see here, that's about 4 kilometers from here to here. Every single drill hole they've put down has yielded low-grade, widespread gold intercepts, which shows you have a very large hydrothermal system here. Where's the high grade? That's what they'll be doing this year, drilling multiple holes, fences of holes near these old historic holes they drilled already, trying to narrow in on that high grade zone. So that is our Swift project. I'll very quickly walk you through Black Ridge. This was previously called our Carlin East project, and we announced this deal in July of 2023, my mistake. Time's flying. And similar structure to our Swift deal. Initial earn-in is $4.5 million for 60%. They can spend an additional $5 million for 10%, for a total of $9.5 million to get to a 75% interest, with, again, Ridgeline retaining that 25% free carry. Now, I think it's really important to show where this project is located so you can understand why this deal matters. So here's the Carlin trend. You got over 200 million ounces of past production here with Nevada Gold Mines and Newmont, or Barrick and Newmont, which is now combined to Nevada Gold Mines. And what's really kind of been an exciting development for the district is this is the post fault right here. That's where all the mineralization historically has been mined near surface. This is the Four Corners fault. That same fault is like a mirror image of the post fault. You have significant mines that have been historically, you got the Carlin mine, you got the Leeville mine right there. Those have been mined for a long time. What's NGM recently announced is a 1 million ounce resource, a new discovery at the Fallon deposit, which is on trend of a million ounces at 11.3 grams per ton. High grade underground deposit with lots of room to grow. Ideally, we believe there's potential for additional discoveries to be made along that fault zone, just like you see massive discoveries here along the post fault that have been made, all the way back into the 1960s and 70s. So great potential here. You take a look at the cross section or a long section here, right along the Four Corners fault. You got the Leeville mine. The Fallon discovery sits right here. NGM owns all the ground for over 4 kilometers between us and the Black Ridge project, or between Fallon and the Black Ridge project. And here's our project right here. So we're just the continuation of that fault system. Great potential. These are deep holes, and that's why we bring in a partner like Nevada Gold Mines. They can afford to come in, drill 1,200, 1,500 meter drill holes, hopefully make a big discovery. So that is our partner projects. We're really excited this year. We're seeing $5.2 million spent across both of those projects. And we hope we're going to see a discovery come out of Swift particularly. It's going to see most of the drilling this year. Now I want to walk you through some of our 100% owned projects. This is the Big Blue project here. This is a porphyry copper play with CRD potential at depth. Historically, this was a high-grade copper mine that produced, 94,000 pounds of copper at a grade of 6.2% in 1916 and 1917. So this is back with, the old days of a donkey and a pickaxe, very artisanal mining. No one has really looked at this project for 100 years since then. So what we believe we can do is we've consolidated this land package. We staked it. We own everything here that's highlighted in the geophysical corridor. And then Reyna Silver owns the Medicine Springs project, which sits right here. Now, Reyna Silver is headed up by Peter McGaw on the technical side. They believe they have a significant CRD discovery in this area here. You have 2 historic mines. They've had success drilling on dip and along strike. And they believe mineralization is heading this way, back into the same structural corridor that sits across our project. So here's the old Delker mine, past producing high-grade zone. We've trenched up to 0.6 meters of 15% copper, a little bit of cobalt, a little bit of silver at the old mine itself. And what we get excited about is you got this gravity high here and here. We believe these have the potential to be 2 buried porphyry centers. You look at it in magnetics right here. Again, big mag high here and here. And we actually have a cross section looking this direction that cuts right underneath the Delker mine. We believe that what you need to do is we need to drill beneath this mine and hopefully find that porphyry source that is hosting that high-grade mineralization at surface. So one of the things we'll be doing this year, probably in late June, is a deep IP survey to hopefully identify and refine those targets heading into the potential for a drill program in the fall if we really like what we see. So this project is really exciting for us. It's shallow. It's got high-grade copper. It's a past producer. It has all those pieces that we think could be hosting a significant copper discovery in Nevada in a great jurisdiction. So really excited about this project. It's going to be a major focus for us moving through the summer. And here's just a picture of the old Delker mine right here. There's our VPX, Mike Harp, looking pretty happy about 15% copper. And here's what the general skarn mineralization looks like at surface. Now, this is really nice high-grade oxide skarn. What we want to find is that sulfide porphyry source beneath the Delker mine that we think is sourcing all of that mineralization. Next, I want to show you the Selena project. This is a 39 square kilometer land package, 100% owned. This is a grassroots discovery made by our company in 2020, and we've advanced it through 5 drill programs, put about $5.5 million US in the ground to advance this thing to what we think is a significant discovery. Some of the highlight intercepts include 6 meters of 480 grams silver, 12% lead, 6% zinc, and 0.1 grams per ton gold that we drilled in 2023. This thing has serious potential, and we need to get some more holes into it this year. So just to give a little background on discovery potential, when you look at this, what I really wanted to highlight is you have a significant CRD belt going all the way along the western US down into Mexico. And what I wanted to highlight was the general scale of some of these big deposits in relation to Selena. So for example, Selena, we've defined over 3.7 kilometers of drill-defined strike to the discovery. The Hilltop discovery by I-80 Gold is 3 kilometers long and growing. The Hermosa Taylor deposit, which is one of the largest deposits on the planet, is about 4 kilometers long. So when you look at the scale of the potential scale for Selena, we have scale, we have good grade. What we haven't done is drilled enough holes to push this into the resource level that we think will start turning some heads. So that's a big move for us this year, is trying to get more holes in the ground and advance this project. And just to kind of highlight, we tick all the major boxes at Selena for a major CRD discovery. So when you look at the project itself, you have the Butte Valley, the analog to our Butte Valley porphyry, which sits right beside our project. And we have skarn, sulfide, and oxide potential that we've defined all the way from surface down to about 1,000 meters depth on the project. So when you look at this thing in 3D, if it ever loads, there we go, my slow internet. What I really want to highlight here, Selena's in orange. The Butte Valley project is in white. Now, Butte Valley is a joint venture between Freeport-McMoRan and Falcon Butte Minerals. Freeport is aggressively exploring the project. They put about $9 million in the ground in this area last year. They did not release any results, but they did go and stake an additional, almost doubled their land package to the north after drilling those holes last year. So they doubled that land package in the first quarter of 2024. So I think they're excited about what they're doing there. We don't know what they're up to, but our Selena project sits right off the edge of that porphyry source. And we believe that's the primary source of mineralization for our discovery on the project. So just zooming in on the project here real quick. Here is the footprint of the Chinchilla Oxide zone. Our Chinchilla sulfide target sits right here. This is one of the primary targets that we want to advance forward in 2024. We also recently announced a porphyry target that sits right off the edge of the Chinchilla Oxide zone, which I'll show you in a little bit. Just zooming in on this thing here, you can see all the holes we've drilled are in yellow. High-grade zones are controlled by fault structures that are cutting through the deposit. Every time you get a fault zone, you get a blowout high-grade mineralized zone. So just looking at this thing in a big picture, Butte Valley right here is that porphyry that Freeport-McMoRan is exploring. We've been able to define a drill-defined strike from here to here of about 5 kilometers, and the full mineralized strike is over 7 kilometers of zoned porphyry mineralization on the Selena project, with some of those highlights like we mentioned, 6 meters of 480 silver, 4 meters of 420 silver, multi-percent lead and zinc in all of these intercepts, and great potential to grow. So if we look at this thing in 3D, here's what we've defined in brown. That is the Chinchilla Oxide zone, right there. Outcrops at surface, extends for over 2 kilometers long strike. This is about a depth of about 250 meters here. So from here to here, you have pretty substantial strike defined already. Highlight intercepts from last year include, we drilled 60 meters of 175 grams silver equivalent from very near surface. And we also extended mineralization down to a depth of over 1,000, almost 1,000 meters. So what that shows is This is our host rock here to here. We've only tested the top roughly 200, 300 meters of that zone with most of our drilling. We need to get over 2 kilometers down dip towards that porphyry to the Chinchilla sulfide target, where we think there's a lot of potential here to test this full package of rocks and hopefully make a significant Taylor type discovery. So we've drilled one hole here historically, which hit 3 meters of 600 grams silver equivalent. Was an RC hole that we pretty much bottomed the rig out to its depth capability of about 650 meters, and we need to take that deeper with future drilling. Just zooming in on some of the mineralization, I don't know if any of you follow CRDs. This is barbecue rock right here. This is just kind of the indicator. You can use shortwave UV to show you have a big CRD deposit or discovery. And we see it all over our project. We use it as a vector on mineralization. And here's just some of the continuity that we see on the Chinchilla oxide zone right here, right? So nice mineralized zone all the way through, over 1.5 kilometers in strike right there, plus outcropping to surface with open pit potential. We're going to take a look here now back at our magnetic survey. And the reason we had the confidence to drill to go 2.5 kilometers down dip and drill a single hole here was this magnetic survey. It showed your faults, where all your highs are, and where your lows sit is where your mineralization is hosted, right? You have your low right here. That's Chinchilla oxide. The next big low sits right here at Chinchilla sulfide. That's where we need to focus and hopefully come after a big discovery. Just for a little bit of comparison purposes here, arm waving, this is an overlay of the Taylor sulfide deposit and the Sunnyside porphyry. So when you look at this, the Sunnyside porphyry is almost an identical distance from our hole here as our Butte Valley porphyry is. So that just shows, okay, from a zonation perspective, we're in the sweet spot right now. We're close to this porphyry. And if we want to find another Taylor type deposit, we have enough space to fit a 100 plus million ton deposit at the Chinchilla sulfide zone. So that's what we're going to be working on. And we're excited about that target. But we also brought in a new porphyry target. We announced it earlier this year. Here it is right here. And it highlights, that's magnetics. And here's a gravity survey that shows the same porphyry target. If we look at this in 3D, here's what the section looks like. You got the Butte Valley porphyry right here. Then we have this Selena porphyry anomaly that sits right here. This highlighted with our drone magnetic survey. And what it shows is you have the Butte Valley porphyry sits right beside the Chinchilla sulfide target. And the Chinchilla oxide zone sits right beside our Selena porphyry target. So you're seeing a very similar spatial relationship between major porphyry centers and our known mineralization on the project. And what we like is big porphyry systems tend to form in clusters. Butte Valley was originally the only single known porphyry in the district. You now have the potential for the Selena porphyry. And then Freeport-McMoran has staked additional ground to the north, which to us suggests they believe there's additional clusters as well. So we might have a big porphyry district forming here, and we're sitting right in the heart of it. Looking the other direction, we'll just look through the Chinchilla oxide zone. Again, here's that Selena porphyry. We've got high-grade mineralization at Chinchilla oxide just off the flanks of that. And as we drilled deeper, some of our highest-grade copper intercepts were intersected in the last few drill programs. So we've drilled up to 1.5 meters of 0.5% copper, silver, and tungsten in there, including a really high-grade but narrow intercept last year of 0.1 meters of just under 3,300 grams silver, a little bit of lead, over 1% copper, and 3.5% tungsten. That is showing that porphyry signature. You don't get copper and tungsten forming in CRDs unless they're close to the porphyry source. So we're pretty excited about this target as well, and we're hoping to advance that with some additional geophysics this year. So the last thing I want to point out, and then I'm done, is our Bell Creek project. This is strategically sits right beside our Black Ridge it says Carlin East still, and the Wren deposit, which sits right here. So Bell Creek is in white, 100% owned by Ridgeline. We are sitting on the edge of the tailings facility for the Gold Strike mine, which is a 40 plus million ounce gold deposit. And if you zoom in here, there's a 1.1 million ounce resource here in red of about 6-7 grams per ton that is owned by Nevada Gold Mines. Bell Creek's boundary sits 500 meters away from that resource. This is a very strategic chunk of ground. We're excited to try to find some partnership opportunities here. It's deep, it's risky, but it's certainly a great chunk of ground, and we're going to find a way to add some value there here in the coming months. So just to wrap it all up, our strategy, I think we got a lot of irons in the fire. a major part of our company's exploration strategy is obviously relying on our partner projects where we think there's significant exploration potential. We have our flagship discovery at Selena. We'll be advancing that project this year, and we're really excited about our exploration pipeline, such as our Big Blue project. So I think what's exciting about this year is we're going to see roughly 5.2 million US being spent by our partners. And we're probably going to be putting an additional, to start $500,000 US in the ground, advancing our own projects. And then we're just going to see as the markets improve and hopefully results come out of our partner projects, we can turn on exploration at either of our projects and keep those moving forward. So yeah, that is the company in a nutshell. And I think I'm going to get some questions here.
Let's start with, Shad, could you tell us who are you and if you could walk us through your career?
Yeah. So I'm Canadian originally. I'm a geologist. I started working for Premier Gold Mines, which was a little Canadian junior at the time back in 2006. And actually was able to be a part of about 12 million ounces of discovery, including the Hard Rock deposit, which is now the Greenstone mine owned by Equinox Gold. So that's a massive tier one project. It was really great to be a part of that discovery. And I moved to Nevada in 2012, started working on Nevada assets for the Premier team, and just realized there was incredible potential down here. And in 2018, founded Ridgeline out of my garage, and took about a year and a half to get funded and get projects in the door. And we've been going ever since. I think we went public in 2020.
There are not a lot of young entrepreneurs in this industry. So what prompted you to found Ridgeline?
Well, it was actually a couple of things. So I really I loved working for the Premier Gold Mines team. It was a great group of geologists. We made great discoveries, and I just saw the kind of the value you could add, right? When you make a truly meaningful discovery, it creates a lot of wealth. And I wanted to be more than just kind of a fly on the wall. I wanted to have an equity stake in the next big discovery I made. And that's what prompted me to start Ridgeline Minerals.
Can you give us a quick, walkthrough from the start in your garage until today, really, for Ridgeline?
Yeah, it was a bit of a, to be honest, I don't know if looking back, I think I was too naive to understand just how hard it was going to be. So, I actually quit my job my full-time job at Premier. I quit it cold turkey because I didn't feel that I could, that I wasn't doing Premier any justice by trying to do something on the side, right? So I fully devoted myself to making Ridgeline a success. I thought it'd take about 3-4 months to get funded. It took 15 months of grinding it out, redoing my pitch. I was overvaluing the company in the early days of Ridgeline, too high of a valuation, and too many investors were saying no. So I kind of, redid our pitch. We partnered with EMX and brought in the Black Ridge, Swift, and Selena projects, which were all very early stage, but it was kind of that push that allowed us to bring in some early stage seed round investors, and that's when it all took off in May of 2019. So we put I've put 150,000 into the company since then. So we did a raise at 12 cents was our seed round in May of 2019. February of 2020, we raised another 3 million at 22 cents. No warrants on either of those private deals. Pandemic hit, which was lots of confusion, I guess, and everyone was a little scared for sure in 2020. So that kind of derailed our IPO plans that we had for the spring of 2020, and we ended up deferring that till August of 2020, where we IPO'd at a 45-cent valuation with a half warrant at 50 cents. We raised about just over $5 million Canadian. And I think life of company, we've raised almost $24 million now.
How much of your net worth is allocated with Ridgeline?
Off the top of my head, about 95%. other than the equity I have in my house, my entire life savings, much to my wife's terror, is completely locked up in Ridgeline. I've never sold a share of the company. This is something that I started out of my garage, and I'm very motivated to make it a success. So
excellent. I really appreciate it. So could you tell us something about the management team or the team that you have put together at Ridgeline?
Yeah. So when I started Ridgeline, it was just me for the first year. And when I finally realized, okay, we're actually getting funded, we have projects, I kind of had to take a step back and go, well, who would I want to work with? And the only person I could think of was Mike Harp. He's another young geologist in Nevada, kind of had a similar career trajectory as me, I guess you could say. We were both part of very significant discoveries in Nevada. at the same time. So we got to know each other. I really liked how Mike thought outside the box when it came to geology in Nevada, because their discovery was somewhat of, at Gold Standard Ventures, was a bit of an atypical discovery. It was in the wrong host rocks, according to kind of classic Nevada dogma. So I really liked the way that Mike was kind of open-minded about exploration, and so that was the first person that we hired as soon as the company was funded. Mike came on. He invested in the company as well with his personal funds, and he's been with the company ever since. So at the same time, Dwayne Lowe, who was originally our founding director in the company, he actually came on as our CFO. So that's rounded out our management team. And, we got a great board, guys like Peter Hardy, CFO of Equinox Gold, Lou Teal, ex-group executive for Newmont on the exploration side for all of South America. You got Mike Blady, mining entrepreneur in Canada, done multiple deals over the years. We got a good mix. And then Dwayne and I are on the board as well. So I really think we got a young, hungry team, and I think the deals that we've been able to do show that we're able to attract top-tier partners to our projects.
And so there are several large and also small companies operating in Nevada. What is your competitive advantage?
Yeah, I think probably what we really bring to the table is the fact that we're local. Right, there's very few mining companies in Nevada, exploration teams that are local exploration teams, and I think that's our big advantage. Mike and I have been here for, like I said, about 25 years combined, and we're able to go out and on weekends, a couple days a week, we're able to go out and prospect for new projects, and I think it just gives us that little bit of an edge that somebody sitting in an office in Vancouver or Toronto may not have.
Could you tell us something about the percentage of the company that your largest shareholders have? I mean, for example, how much does EMX have?
Yeah, EMX is, they've diluted from 9.9 on the IPO. Their business model is not to continue investing in companies, equity scale. What they do is they bring in groups, they option projects and take an equity stake in the company. And so they own 9.9% originally. They own about, I think, around 6% right now, maybe even 5.5% at this point. Paul Stevens is our largest individual shareholder. He owns 9.9% of the company. Rick Rule, Merck, Extract, those guys all fall into that kind of 2 to 4% range. So really good mix of institution, high net worth shareholders. And then, like I said, management owns a pretty significant chunk as well.
I mean, you have 2.3 million Canadian dollars in treasury after following the recently closed financing. Do you have any significant current assets or short-term liabilities?
Nope, no short-term liabilities, no significant assets either, aside from our exploration project itself, and a couple company trucks. So debt-free, no upcoming, significant payments or milestones required for any of our projects.
You have 27 million warrants. What are the expiry dates and strike prices on the warrants?
Yeah, you bet. So we got 6.4 million warrants expiring this September at 30 cents. We got another 11.3 million expiring at 30 in April of 2025. And then we just added an additional 9.2 million warrants at 18 cents, which expire in 2026. And those are from our most recent financing. So hoping to get the stock moving, maybe clean up some of that warrant structure, bring in some cash, hopefully, and that'd be great.
Yeah, that would be a good way to get in more cash. So, but more or less, you have 2.3 million Canadian in working capital. What is your expected quarterly G&A burn rate?
Yeah, so we're right in around, I'd say, right off the top of my head, about 550,000 Canadian, all in. Not just G&A, that includes land costs, everything, right? So for this company to, essentially to exist, we're about roughly 175,000 Canadian a month, and that includes everything: IR, land payments, TSX listing fees, you name it. And a big part of that is largely because a good chunk of our operations, well, all of our operations are in the US, right? So unfortunately, right now, the US exchange rate is definitely working against us. So you're seeing about a 1.37 exchange rate right now. So that might seem a little high. The main reason for that is just because that 175 Canadian is converting to US dollars, or at least 70% of that on a monthly basis.
That cost is besides, assuming no exploration, besides land leasing cost and such.
Yeah, that's everything. Includes land holding, everything, right? So then, after $1.6 million, the rest of the money we would spend, that's going directly in the ground. advancing the projects.
So then, what is your all-in drilling cost per meter?
Well, it can vary dramatically depending on the project. So, a shallow project like Selena, we're somewhere in that kind of all-in $400 a meter, $425 a meter. That reason we did the
US or Canadian, by the way?
Oh, that'd be Canadian or US. Sorry, US. Yeah, no, that's US dollars. Yeah, it's not cheap to drill in Nevada. It's probably one of the more expensive places to drill. There's a bunch of factors that play into that, but it's just much harder drilling than in Canada. Like when I used to work in Canada, it would be normal for us to drill every single 12-hour shift on a drill. You'd expect to see somewhere around anywhere from 50 to 100 meters of production. You typically see more like anywhere from 15 to 30 meters of production in Nevada, and 30 meters would be a pretty good day, right? 30, 40
Why
meters.
is that?
So, it's really broken up ground. So in Canada, typically, not always, but typically you're drilling in more, kind of volcanic terrains. You're not seeing as much kind of limestones and carbonates. And these limestones and carbonates, they have caves in them. They fall apart. They're broken up ground. They're sandy. So what you end up with is very difficult drilling conditions. Whereas in Canada, you typically can just drill a lot more with the same amount of dollars.
Okay, but that's for deep drilling. Say if you does the meter cost increase significantly from 440?
Oh yeah. I know. I've seen easily $1,000 a meter in for 1,000, 1,500 meter drill holes. No problem at all to see over $1,000 a meter all in cost, which is why we did our deals at the Black Ridge and Swift projects, because those are both projects that require anywhere from 800 to 1,500 meter drill holes. That cost is now being funded by our partners. We felt it was too risky and too expensive for a junior like us to try to fund that kind of exploration.
But you mentioned that you have co-founded a drilling company in order to reduce drilling cost for Ridgeline.
Yeah,
could you tell us more about that structure and also what impact it has on the actual meter cost?
Yeah, in the early days of the company, Steve Nielsen, who's also here, he was our my co-founder. He owned an RC drilling company. I'd used him a ton. Great guy. So he came in and he provided 50,000 feet of drilling at cost, essentially, no markup or anything, in return for an initial 50% stake in the company. And remember, this is when we were working out of my garage, right? What's 50% of nothing? That's essentially what I promised him back in 2019, right? We're working out of the garage. It's grown since then. Steve has held every share that he has. He's never sold a share. But we actually used that entire 50,000 foot contract. So he satisfied his portion of the deal. And we've now shifted from using RC drilling, which is, a nice, quick and cheap way to drill in advanced projects, but it's not the kind of drilling method you want to use when you're on to a discovery like we've been at Selena. So you want to drill core, get good recovery, and be confident of the structures that you're drilling. So that we focused away from that in 2022.
So moving on then. So yeah, 2.3 million Canadian treasure. That is, really, if you want to be able to do an extensive exploration program, your share price needs to at least double in order to avoid too much shareholder dilution. So
Exactly.
How are you going to use these proceeds that you now have to create material shareholder value in order to be able to raise that, say at least twice the valuation next time?
Yeah, I'm hoping it could be twice. Maybe we can get it even more than that, right? So one of the things we need to do is with this raise, what it allows NGM to go in and spend over $5.2 million, hopefully make a significant discovery. They've already drilled mineralized intercepts at Swift. They're now focusing on hitting that high grade. So hopefully we'll see some great results come out of that project later in Q3 and Q4. In return, we're also doing an IP survey at our Big Blue project, which we think is going to identify, think of like, to name drop here, but think of like Hercules Silver, right? They had an old mines at surface, primarily a silver project. They did a 3D IP survey and they identified a major chargeability anomaly at depth. That's the same approach we're taking at Big Blue. We're hoping that, with a $150,000 Canadian 3D IP survey, we can hopefully advance that project with a big chargeability anomaly, get it drill ready. And that could potentially add a lot of excitement to the stock without actually having to put a ton of money in the ground. And then we're also working on initiatives at our Selena project. So right now we're waiting on permitting for Selena. So we have a plan of operations permit, which would be pretty much enough exploration disturbance to take the project all the way to pre-development. So it's a very big permitting step and de-risking step for the project. We also have a water well that's being permitted at Selena right now as well. So until we get approval of both of those, we're just sitting tight on Selena. And then after that, we can start getting aggressive with exploration. So this year, we're seeing a large exploration budget, some great catalysts coming from that. And I'm hoping that we can get folks excited about Big Blue in the early summer. And we're also working on staking new projects, right? We have some pretty exciting opportunities kind of in our sights. And that's something that we'll be bringing online later in the year as well.
Let's start with Swift, really. Could you explain the geologic properties of Swift?
Yeah. So what's really interesting about the Swift project is, and I think I'll back it up just a bit and go to surface for a second, give a little bit of context. So all of the mines, whoops, did not mean to do that. Oh, trying to get my pen to work and it is not. Let's see. Well, anyways, Pipeline, Cortez Hills, 4 Mile, all of these mines, they are all hosted within the Wenban Formation. That is the primary host rocks. That is a specific limestone that is a excellent host. It just has all the right properties that make it a great host for a gold deposit. Those projects, they're all directly on trend of Swift. What kind of broke the project open for us is we were the first to ever drill a Wenban intercept on the project. So we were able to drill mineralized Wenban in 2021, actually late 2020, sorry, at the Swift project, which were these holes right there. You see SW2003, all the black traces to the right, 2001 and 2002. Those were the first holes to ever intersect that dark blue formation, which is the Wenban. That was able to kind of get a group like NGM really excited about the project because now they knew that, okay, we're directly on trend of all these mines. The right structural setting is there. What the missing piece was for that project was understanding the host rocks. NGM or Barrick previously had owned Swift up until 2016. They dropped the project because they felt there wasn't the potential because the right host rocks weren't there in their opinion. Us drilling the Wenban is what cracked that wide open for them. So we showed, okay, you have the right structures, you have gold mineralization both at surface and at depth, and you have the Wenban Formation. And that's what kind of cracked the whole project open. So you end up with what you're looking at here at this long section is you have a whole bunch of low angle structures, fault zones. Everything's kind of laid over. And along those major fault zones where you get folding and tight faulting along them, that's where you're getting accumulation of gold mineralization. So, just to put it in perspective, holes 2202 and 2203, those guys, which are right kind of in the center left, those holes are about 800 meters apart. The entire Gold Rush deposit is only about 300 meters wide, which means you could fit 2.5 Gold Rush deposits in between those two drill holes. So there's significant widespread gold mineralization along all these fault structures. The big question is now is can we zone in on one of these 300 meter wide by multi-kilometer long structural horizons, which would host, a significant gold deposit in that kind of Wenban and Devonian age rock. So, sorry, I'm getting a little down the weeds in geology here, but
what's the Wenban Formation? What rock does it consist of?
Yeah, it's debris flow limestone. So what you actually have is think of like, I don't know if you've been to the, snorkeling in the Caribbean or something like that. When you're on the edge of a reef and you're snorkeling on a reef and then it drops off into the deep water right off the edge of the reef, where the Wenban would be the equivalent of that kind of slope where that reef was eroding and falling down into the deep water. And that kind of jumbled up landslide, debris flow slides of all those shells and limestone or carbonate particles, they all slough down and they form a really porous and iron-rich host rock. And so gold likes to bond itself to iron-rich particles. So it'll sulfidize, or when you get pyrite, which is iron-rich sulfide, it has, when you get gold in solution coming in contact with that pyrite, it pulls it out, it sucks it out of the fluid. And so you get all those right things coming together in a debris flow limestone like the Wenban, right? You have lots of iron, you have porosity, you have the ability to, the fluids can come in and they replace that limestone and sulfidize it with pyrite and arsenopyrite, then you get a big gold deposit.
All right. Yeah, you have already, as you've seen, put in a few holes in it. But yeah, what happened last year? There were 2 holes planned, but one was lost, or there was only one drilled, which was lost.
last year was certainly a disappointment for us. You see SW 2305 right in the center of the section, 0.6 meters of 0.4 grams. That hole was kind of testing in between our historic drilling on the right and NGM's recent drilling from 2021 through 2022 on the left. And that was supposed to be a really important hole. Right where that Wenban is pinching down into the green unit is where we thought a nice structural trap would be. And they lost the hole, unfortunately, above the target horizon. So I spent over $1 million drilling a single hole last year, and it didn't even hit the target host rocks. So, that's why we have partners like this with deep pockets, right? That they can come back, re-drill these holes, and try to go in and make a discovery.
Well, so the target is at around, at least in for 05, is probably at 800 meters depth.
Oh yeah, yep, probably. I can't use my pen anymore. For some reason, my Apple Pen has decided it's not working for me anymore. But
that's fine.
Can't notate. You're looking at it anywhere from, our target is anywhere from 450 meters depth all the way to about 1,200 meters depth. So there's
what is the target? What kind of minerals or host rock are you targeting?
Yeah, it would be a Carlin type gold deposit, right? So classic Carlin type gold. Microscopic gold particles that are coming in and they're replacing the limestone and mineralizing the Wenban. And the green limestone is the Roberts Mountain, which is another great host in the area. And so, it's a classic Carlin type deposit. We're looking for high grade. Obviously, it would have to be an underground. So 48 meters of half a gram, for example, is exciting in hole 2203, for example. But we need to see something more like, 5, 10, 20 meters of 10 plus grams per ton to get people excited at those depths.
By the way, are you the operator? Are you actually on the ground and deciding where to put the holes, or is it just Nevada Gold Mines, or is it in cooperation?
So it is in cooperation, but Nevada Gold Mines is the operator. So both deals, NGM is the operator. And we've honestly felt that was probably the appropriate approach here. Like, NGM, both of these projects sit directly beside some of the biggest gold mines in North America, both of which are owned by NGM. So we felt, and they agreed, hey, let them use all of their institutional knowledge of the district to go and make a big discovery for both of us. So they're the operator. We have quarterly steering committee meetings where we, talk about geologic targets, work on budgets, etc. NGM has final say on budget and targeting, but we have such a great relationship with these groups. We've known these guys for over a decade, so we feel like we get a pretty nice seat at the table.
Excellent. So let's speak about 3 to 5 holes will be drilled this year. When do you know if it's going to be 3 or 5 holes? And where will you target? How long will each hole be?
Yeah, it's going to be more like 5. We gave the range of 3 to 5, but it's going to be more like 5 holes. And you're going to see a mix of drill holes in the area on the left, where you're going to see some additional follow-up on some of these zones where, you drill like 48 meters a half a gram. You could be 100 meters away from a big deposit, and you just have to test it, try to vector in on higher grades. You're also going to see more drilling in the area of 2305, I believe, where that initial hole was lost last year. So it'll be a mix of both. We're actually having a steering committee meeting in the next few weeks, I believe, with NGM, and I'd be able to have more context then.
And when will we start drilling, and when will we see the results? And can you choose when to release the results?
Yeah, so we're hoping that the drilling will start. The most recent guidance we received at the year-end meeting was sometime in May or June they'd start drilling. I'm hoping that I'll be able to get that narrowed down with the next steering committee meeting. And we have full press release capability on the project, which is great. So every quarter, NGM gives us all the data that's been collected or acquired on the project in that quarter, and we can choose whether to put out a press release. We work together on the PRs, so they get a chance to edit and provide comment, and then we can put it out. So until NGM spends their minimum spend and earns their 60%, it's important for shareholders to remember that Ridgeline owns 100% of this project, right? So everything that NGM does is material for us. So we're going to keep shareholders up to date, and hopefully there's some exciting news this year.
And then, you already mentioned this, but maybe you can add some further color to this. So what grades and widths would you need to see in order to know that, okay, you have achieved material success? They will definitely fast track this.
I think anything, realistically, anything above 5-10 meters of, 10 plus grams per ton would start being very exciting. But I think both parties would agree that what would really get me personally, and I think NGM as well, is to see even a narrow intercept, half a meter, 1 meter, of very high grades in the right host rocks, right? Like 30, 40, 50 grams per ton. That shows that you have the same potential as, 4 Mile, Gold Rush, deeper Cortez underground, all that kind of stuff. So, you need those multi-meter intercepts of 10 plus grams. But I think in the early days, if they were to deliver a 1 meter intercept of ounce per ton gold, that would be incredibly exciting. And I think you'd see the project get fast tracked from there.
Perfect. So, and after this year, they will have reached, what is it, 12.2 million in spent?
Roughly 13 and a half. Yeah. Yeah.
13 and a half. Okay, after the 5 million this year.
If they spend their 5 million in full, as they believe they will, then you'd be at 13 and a half million. So we need another 6.5 million spent by the end of 2026 for them to get their full 60% initial interest. If they choose not to advance the project and spend the full 20 million, then Ridgeline gets all of the data and the project returned to us at 100% ownership.
What kind of resource, both in terms of size and grades, would Nevada Gold Mines, like to have in line of sight in order to sort of fast track resource delineation?
Sure. I think, when you're talking about depths, like, 900, 800, to 1,000 meters, you need to see something that falls into the 3 to 5 million ounce range at, again, 10 to 20 grams per ton average grade, I think, to get them really excited. So that would be a significant discovery, right? It would not be a small. They're probably not going to advance 500,000 ounces or 1 million ounces. It's not going to meet that kind of threshold for them. Even if it may be material to Ridgeline, it wouldn't be material to Nevada Gold Mines. So yeah, you need to see that 3 to 5 million ounce potential.
How does this compare to, say, the Ren deposit, for instance?
I would say the target at Swift is considerably larger than the Ren deposit. The target there, when we picked it up, we felt there was potential to make a 10 million ounce discovery. We've had those discussions with Nevada Gold Mines, and they don't believe that's out of line either. If we have the footprint, the large footprint of mineralization at surface. We have widespread gold at depth. We have the right host rocks. You have all the key characteristics of a 10 plus million ounce potential are there. We just need to go and have a little luck with the drill bit now.
Well, then finally, so Kinross made a $20 million joint venture with Riley Gold earlier this year, adjacent to your project. How does this change the dynamic with Nevada Gold Mines?
Well, for me, I was really excited to see that deal. I think it was a great deal by the Riley team. Again, these are deep drill holes to go and test these targets, and it adds a little bit of competitive tension to the district, right? When you look, you look at this full image here, all the red blobs, those are deposits owned by Nevada Gold Mines. Essentially, Nevada Gold Mines is the largest landowner in the entire district, right? All the way through from Swift, all the way to Gold Rush. Everything was owned by either Nevada Gold Mines or us and Riley Gold. So to bring Kinross into it adds that competitive tension, kind of, keeps Barrick or NGM honest. And I think, reminds them that there's other groups that are active and looking to make discoveries here. So it bodes well for Swift.
Yeah, I agreed. And by the way, for the viewers, it could be good to mention that Nevada Gold Mines is a joint venture between the two largest gold companies in the world, Barrick Gold and Newmont.
Yeah, they combined, I guess it was 2017, I think, when they announced the combination. But really, it makes a lot of sense, right? Like they had, complementary mill facilities and mine facilities where you had a lot of duplicate energy, extra workforce that wasn't required. By combining the two companies together, they reduced their overall cost and increased their annual production pretty dramatically.
But then, Black Ridge, could you just quickly walk us through the geologic properties of the project? It's formerly known as Carlin East, and also the project's history.
Yeah, I got to change that tag there, don't I? It still says Carlin East there in the model. Black Ridge is a similar story to Swift in that it's on trend of the same major structures hosting multi-million ounce deposits on the trend. This is the Carlin trend instead of the Cortez trend, which, just for the for people listening, those are the two key gold trends in Nevada, right? They're about 100 kilometers apart from each other, very continuous, and they create the largest endowment of gold on the planet, I believe, in that small area. So at Carlin or at Black Ridge, you have a similar story where the same host rocks, which we're looking at here, it's the same age of host rocks as Swift, although they have a different name. So the light blue, here you can see the medium blue color there. That is the Popovich Formation, and then beneath that in the light green is the Roberts Mountain. Those are the two primary host rocks for the Carlin, Leeville Turf, and Fallon deposits, as well as the Brown Rodeo Creek is also a secondary host as well. So very similar story, right? You have carbonate host rocks. They're the same age as the Wenban Formation, for example, and they're very, very similar composition as well. The Roberts Mountain Formation is analogous, is the same Roberts Mountain Formation that we see at Swift, right? Just 100 kilometers away. So yeah, same, very similar host rock potential. We're on the right structures. It's a very similar story to Swift in that respect, right? Pretty much it's just coming in, drilling enough holes on our project to hopefully prove that there's continuation of a gold system onto our ground.
Do you see that Wenban Formation?
No, the Wenban is not. The Wenban and the Popovich, or you could kind of say they're analogs to each other. Pretty much geologists like to think they're really smart, so they like to name things differently in different areas, right? So you could say that the Wenban and the Popovich are very, very similar types of limestone, same age.
And then, so what target generational work will be done this year?
Yeah, so what's being done this year is a very significant field program by the NGM team, and our group will be out working with them this spring as well. Pretty much through the crash zone target and all the way, again, I can't notate, which is, oh, there we go. Look, now it's working again. So this is going to be the area of primary interest for NGM. They're going to be doing soil sampling, reprocessing geophysics, field mapping, rock chipping. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to show that the same surface expression of discoveries around here in Leeville and the Fallon area, the same surface expression of mineralization that you see there exists at the Black Ridge project, or Carlin East, previously Carlin East. So that'll kind of get the project to a point where it'll be drill ready by the end of this year. And we fully anticipate a drill program in the spring of 2025.
And where can you usually start drilling in Nevada?
Highly dependent, right? If you're drilling down in the Beatty area, you can drill year round. Here at Carlin, or at Black Ridge, you're actually on a low mountain range, but it still gets up to 9,000 feet elevation, right? So in the wintertime, we can have 20, 30 feet of snow up there. So realistically, mid-May all the way through October is probably your primary drilling time at this project. Swift is very similar. Selena, we can maybe drill April through late November.
And then, so at Selena, well, we will switch topic to Selena. You have recently identified a porphyry anomaly at the depth at Selena. Could you explain the geologic properties of Selena and your thesis for it? I mean, is Butte Valley the feeder of the system, or could it be this new porphyry?
Yep. So looking at the property view here, what I really want to point out is the main driver of mineralization on the project is definitely the Butte Valley porphyry, right? It is a well-known porphyry discovered in the 1960s. Freeport now exploring it. And just looking at the general zonation pattern that you see in large porphyry systems is that these things kind of, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. You actually have a porphyry, what you'll have is you got the porphyry itself. Then you're going to have maybe a skarn zone around it, right? Which is high grade, high temperature, copper rich skarn. Around that, you're going to see zonation of a CRD system. And then outboard of that, you're going to see gold deposits, right? That can be over 8 to 10 kilometers. What we've been able to identify is our Chinchilla Oxide deposit sits right on the edge of that transition between CRD and more of a gold-rich target. And as we drill back towards Chinchilla Sulfide, it's getting firmly into the CRD and skarn target on the project. And so, what we really like is you can kind of see that full spectrum of a porphyry system on the project. And by us adding a new porphyry target right here with last year's drone magnetics, it just kind of adds to that story, right? Because what could be happening now is, are you getting zonation from one porphyry, which is then overlapping with another porphyry, right? And if you actually have two porphyry systems, well, I would sure like to see what sits right there, right? Because that's where you're getting the potential overlapping of both the Butte Valley porphyry and the Selena porphyry in blue. And I just realized I have like 80 lines on here, and I apologize. Maybe getting a little too in the weeds, but the important thing to point out is that is our Chinchilla sulfide target, right? That's the concept. We believe that there could be a world-class CRD discovery here. And when you actually look at I'll zoom in on a section. Right here. When you actually zoom in on that, you have all the right host rocks, right? You have, in our case, again, we have Devonian age carbonates. This time, it's called the Guillemette limestone, which is a well-known host across the Carlin Trend for gold deposits as well. That is the gray unit from here to here. And what you need for big CRD discoveries is you need to have 5, 6, 1,000 meters of potential host rocks. And that's what we've now been able to prove from the edge of our property to the outcropping mineralization at Selena. You have over 5 kilometers of potential, with about 3.5 of that showing drill defined strike, right? You have another drill hole off section that's right about here that hit mineralization as well. This is a really big system at Selena, but what we've been really struggling with is, frankly, it's been a really difficult market to be a junior. It's been difficult to raise capital, especially in this environment, right? So like you mentioned previously, the amount of money to do a meaningful drill program to really test this concept here is beyond our current market cap's ability, right? So our goal is, can we get that market cap up with excitement out of Big Blue, maybe a discovery with one of our partners, and that would allow us to then raise the kind of money that would be required to come in and make a big discovery here.
Let's start with, are you sure that you really have a porphyry at Selena, or could it be an intrusive body?
Yeah, no, it could absolutely just be a porphyry, or an intrusive body. It doesn't have to be a porphyry by any stretch. But the reason we do believe that there is something significant there is when you look at this first section, the tenor of the magnetic high right here. Sorry, is that not showing up very well? Do it in blue. That same magnetic high here is very similar tenor to the Butte Valley Porphyry. Now, it's not as large as the Butte Valley Porphyry, but you're seeing that same magnetic intensity, which would suggest that it's a similar quartz feldspar porphyry composition as what we see at Butte Valley. The other reason that we believe that there's actually a meaningful porphyry here is when you look the other direction, you can kind of zoom in here, try to get a little closer. But the reason we're getting high-grade copper along the edges of this porphyry system, it's too far away from Butte Valley. So Butte Valley is over 5 kilometers away, right? Well, copper and tungsten can't stay in suspension in fluids for that far away from a porphyry, right? As soon as the temperature drops, metals like copper, tungsten, they fall out of the fluid and they mineralize directly adjacent to that porphyry, right? So you'll see a high-grade copper tungsten skarn, but you don't typically see high-grade copper and tungsten 5 kilometers away from a porphyry. It's too far away, which would support our belief that then where's that being sourced from? Well, probably much closer, right? It's probably being sourced from the Selena porphyry, which is about 1 kilometer away and just about 600 meters down below surface, right? So that is a far more likely and simpler explanation as to why you're getting your copper and your tungsten mineralization picking up as you drill deeper. So as we drill deeper, we're getting closer to that porphyry and we're hitting higher grade, higher temperature minerals. So we believe it's pretty well evidenced, but I think you'd have to come in with a drill bit and prove it from here.
What do you know about the Butte Valley porphyry? And is that a primary target, or is it the skarn that Freeport is after?
Yeah, let me show it here. So pretty much historically, all of the drilling at Butte Valley has all been relatively shallow, right? 600, 800 meters, maybe 1,000 meters at the most. All drilling through mostly skarn mineralization that sits directly on top of the porphyry source. There are holes that have drilled sniffs of the porphyry at depth. And what you're seeing is okay grade, but not very high grade stuff, not enough to support an underground operation, right? Quarter percent copper, 0.5% copper, not enough when you're 1,000 meters down. Freeport's theory coming in is actually that you have a telescoped porphyry system at Butte Valley, which means you originally had maybe your original porphyry kind of came up like this, and then there's another porphyry at depth, right? And you're getting multiple ages of porphyries coming up, and it's actually the second porphyry that is the target of interest to Freeport. So they're drilling almost 2,000 meter drill holes going after that deeper porphyry, and they're going after like a resolution copper type of discovery.
But the closest porphyry to surface, that is uneconomic.
Yeah, it wouldn't be economic. Yeah. But the interesting thing is you don't have to have an economic copper porphyry to make a really significant CRD. So just again, I referenced the Taylor deposit, but the Sunnyside porphyry, which is owned by Barksdale, that's an uneconomic porphyry. Right? They've hit some decent intercepts there. Historically, Asarco drilled it in the 60s, but it's not near economic. Yet you have 150 million ton CRD deposit sitting directly adjacent to it, and that's the primary source. So, for us, we like the fact that you obviously have a very large porphyry system there. Whether it's economic or not remains to be seen, but it is pumping fluids out of that porphyry and out into the surrounding rock, which is helping mineralize the Chinchilla targets that we have. And then on top of that, you have the Selena porphyry as well. And one of the things that I really like, this is a thrust fault that I'm tracing right here. So this is a well-known thrust fault that goes all the way across the project for kilometers. And what's really interesting is our porphyry target sits directly underneath that thrust fault. So we actually think that that's been masked by that big structure. And that's why it maybe wasn't identified by earlier operators, was that it's actually being kind of, that magnetic signature is being masked by that thrust fault, and it's kind of hidden beneath. So yeah, it's a really interesting concept.
But so the Selena porphyry, that isn't in your interest to drill?
No, it absolutely is. Long term, yes, we'd want to drill it. We think that the Chinchilla sulfide target has that kind of potential wow factor, I think, for investors. If we can go out and drill some really good holes at Chinchilla sulfide, that would be a major development for this project. A secondary target for sure would be drilling that Selena porphyry anomaly down here beneath that thrust fault.
Okay, makes sense. That's the target prioritization. But so Chinchilla oxide, what do you think you have ballpark in terms of size and grade?
You bet. And again, I will preface this is not a compliant resource. We have not drilled enough to get a resource out yet. However, the reason that you see these brown shapes here is because we have done the modeling to support internal scoping studies, to try to understand how big could this be. We'd be targeting in the Chinchilla oxide area roughly 50 to 100 million ounces, depending on what grade range you were doing for cutoffs. But you'd be targeting 50 plus million ounces of silver at 100 plus grams per ton average grade is kind of the range that we seem to be falling into. Upper end of the target is probably in the 100 million ounce range at similar grade. Now, if you drop, we've gone through and dropped, cutoff grades down to 30, 40, 50 grams per ton, and obviously the size of that target scales up pretty considerably. But for us, we feel that for an potentially economic open pit, you need to kind of be in that 100 plus gram per ton silver range, and it'd be open pit heap leach. You can see nice, consistent architecture here. It's just dipping gently underneath right at this geologic contact, which is right here, and it outcrops at surface right here. And we have trenches of up to, like trench number 4, for example, is right here. That was 38 meters of, I think, half a gram gold and about 70 grams per ton silver. And trench number 5, which was 100 meters up the hill, that was 58 meters of about 30 grams silver and 0.7 grams per ton gold. So gold grades are increasing this direction. Silver and base metal grades are increasing this direction towards the porphyry.
If we look to the right, do you think you would have the potential for a higher grade starter pit?
Yeah, absolutely. So right here specifically, that outcropping zone, it's about 600 meters long. It's roughly seems to be anywhere from 30 to 50 meters thick, and it's roughly 200 meters wide. So there's definitely room in there for an interesting little starter pit. But I think to support that, you need to make that big discovery here, right? If we can prove that the Chinchilla sulfide is what we think it is, then someone's going to find a way to monetize Chinchilla oxide, right? But I think you need to make that big discovery at Chinchilla sulfide first.
So you don't perceive Chinchilla oxide to be attractive enough to sort of actually pursue resource delineation or further exploration at this point in time?
Yeah, I think it's a package deal, right? Like when you look at the Taylor deposit, that was Wildcat silver for a decade. They were targeting the original Hermosa open pit silver manganese deposit, right? It wasn't until they actually drilled at depth beneath and they made the Taylor discovery when things actually took off for them, because frankly it's difficult to get people excited and the market's excited about open pit heap leach silver. Silver is notoriously tricky metallurgy for heap leach systems, and so I think people give a heavy discount and are kind of skeptical of open pit silver mines until they go into production. So for us, we feel, yes, is there a lot of value here? Absolutely. I think we have something pretty significant at Chinchilla oxide, but to unlock that value, you have to make that big discovery at Chinchilla sulfide.
But so then 22,037 and 38, that are the only holes that I put into the Chinchilla sulfide so far.
Exactly. Yeah. So I don't actually have it on this section, but hole 38 sits right here. And that hit right about here. It hit 3.5 meters of 95 grams silver, 7 and 5% lead zinc combined. And then this guy hit a 20 at hole 37. That was 20 plus meters of CRD alteration with 2 higher grade intercepts within it. The highest being 3 meters of 600 grams silver, which was 400 or 40 grams silver, 7% lead zinc, and 3 grams per ton gold. Was the actual individual grades of that intercept. So as we suspect, if you were to compare this to, the Taylor deposit again, which I continuously keep on doing, but it's a great one, so why not? What we proved is there's your host rock here and here. We only drilled the first 100 meters of that potential host rock, right? And we hit pretty significant intercepts, and it was transitioning to sulfide at the bottom of the hole. We believe that if you were to take that same hole and extend it to depth and drill some additional holes around it, we think you'd make a pretty significant sulfide discovery there.
And did 37 end in mineralization?
Very close. Yeah, it was actually running low-grade silver all the way to the bottom of the hole.
There was no reason to sort of continue.
Oh, no, we would have loved, sorry, I misunderstood you. We would have loved to have continued 37, but we were drilling RC with my previous partners with Steve's drill rig, and we pretty much bottomed out the drill rig's capability at about 650 meters. If I'd had a rig that could have drilled to 1,000 meters, I probably would have.
Awesome. But so then, yeah, you're seeing limestone down there.
Yes. Yeah. Mix of limestones and dolomites, which are both great hosts for CRD deposits.
What's the goal? I mean, how thick of a zone? What grades would you like to find in order for this, to have a good potential of becoming a mine at some point in the future?
Yeah. So at what we've been able to prove, there we go. Let me clean that up a little bit. What we've been able to prove is this main zone at Chinchilla Oxide, that's anywhere from 25 to 60 meters thick. So you see a lot of complexity or a lot of, change in the thickness of the zone depending on how close to a fault structure it is, etc. So we know that, and again, we've hit 20 meters of alteration, 25 meters of alteration here as well. So we know that the minimum size of the target is roughly a 25 meter target for a thickness of a zone. And we'd be looking to try to recreate the kind of grades we hit with hole 45, which since that's a little messy, we had 32 meters of 300 grams silver equivalent, including 6 meters of just over 1,100 grams silver equivalent, right? So that's the kind of grades we want to target. We think that based on, you can see right here, there's all these little stacked horizons. I can zoom in a bit. Those all represent stacked mineralized horizons that we hit beneath the known Chinchilla Oxide zone. So if we were able to hit that main 25 to 50 meter thick zone at the top of the host rock and then follow up with multiple stacked zones all the way down for another 500-600 meters of continuous, I think that would be the kind of scale we're looking for. I'd like to see 500 to 700 grams plus silver equivalent grades with high grade, including intervals topping out over 1,000 grams per ton. That would be a high grade discovery of merit.
What type of geophysics and other exploration work would you like to do before drilling in order to narrow down the target zone?
You bet. I'd really like to see we're going to go back even more. I would love to see MT survey, which to target the Chinchilla sulfide zone. This is the kind of survey that can see through, because everything above here is pyrite-rich shales and sandstones. They kind of mask, like IP would really struggle to see through those roughly 500 meters worth of shales to see beneath that to the target. But MT would be able to see at depth through those shales and get good enough resolution to hopefully identify anomalies at depth. So that's a survey technique that's been used really effectively in other CRD deposits globally. And we think that's probably the next step to hopefully an MT survey would identify, hey, there's a big blob right here that needs to be drilled.
And then, so how many holes and also, the depth of the holes would you need in order to answer the question if Selena sulfide is worth pursuing?
Yeah. I think you need to drill about 5 to 7 holes to depths of 1,000 plus meters and be kind of the holes be scattered across, roughly a 400 to 500 meter wide zone that extends for over 2 kilometers in and out of this page.
So then, how does Selena sulfide rank if you compare that to Big Blue? Because if you would like to drill any of these projects yourself, you have to prioritize. You have to choose one. Which one is on top?
Well, I think we always try to. Craig Perry has a really good analogy of you always need to look at a target. The size of the prize, cost of the test, and your chance of success. So when you compare, let's say, Big Blue versus Selena, when you compare the two, we believe that one, we're going after a porphyry target at Big Blue, which means the size of the prize is as big as it gets. The cost of the test at Big Blue is a third of the cost of testing Selena. And the chance of success, we're drilling underneath a historic high-grade copper mine at Big Blue. I'd say that our chance of success is pretty decent. So when you look at that compared to Selena, the size of the prize is excellent. We think that this could be, the target itself could be, another Taylor type analog, right? A massive 50 plus million ton discovery if we're correct. But the cost of the test is quite high. It's about 3 times the cost of drilling at Big Blue.
Why is it so much higher? Because the Big Blue is also at
three. No, it's 3 times as deep as the Big Blue target. Yeah. So Big Blue's shallower. Big Blue's cheaper to test, and you're going after a large target. So what we see right now is until our market cap improves, and and hopefully the markets kind of start rewarding wildcat exploration again, I think that we'd probably hold on drilling deep holes at Selena until we can kind of get the support from the markets that make it worth it. So we're going to, in the meantime, focus on getting those permits complete at Selena, which is required. I can't build any more drill pads at Selena until we get that permit through, right? That permit's supposed to be approved in June, so it's not very far away, but we'd have to get that approved. Then we can start doing work on the project. So yeah, that's the first step, and then we'll see where it goes later this year after we get the IP results out of Big Blue.
Are you considering optioning Selena to a larger partner?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that every project in our portfolio is potentially open for option, right? It just, it needs to be the right company coming in and the right deal structure. So we've certainly fielded offers on Selena. There's been definitely tire kickers, people taking a look, majors coming in and seeing the potential. And so there is opportunities along that route as well. And I think right now we're just trying to identify what the best path forward is for Selena. And that includes also understanding what the opportunity could be at Big Blue first before we can make that decision.
Would you say that with your discussions, that any of your discussions is advanced?
Can't really give that kind of information, to be fair. I think I got to keep it high level, but we've had multiple groups sign CAs with us. That's a fairly standard practice in the space. And so please, as a shareholder, don't take that as, hey, Ridgeline's necessarily doing another deal. But we have had people take a serious look, do field visits, detailed geologic reviews of the project, and a few groups have really expressed interest in the project, and we'll just see where it goes.
What kind of companies are interested in a project like Selena?
You're getting copper and base metal producers, particularly. Yeah, so you're getting a lot of, especially with maybe mining laws becoming a little stricter and a little less friendly in places like Mexico, which is the largest silver producer in the world. You're seeing groups that have big operations in Mexico that would like to diversify some of their risk and try to find another significant silver discovery in a mining friendly jurisdiction like Nevada. So that's the kind of folks that are taking serious looks at projects like Selena.
Fantastic. And so you already told us about Big Blue, but you could just quickly run down what you know about Big Blue and how did you get into your hands? And also what exploration work has been done on it.
Well, we can credit Big Blue to our VP exploration, Mike Harp. Pretty much we told him, the board and I we were all discussing, after having some success at Selena in 2022 and 2023, we were looking at it and going, okay, can we find another Selena project? And Mike went out and found Big Blue in just a couple of weeks. And what gets us really excited is we were able to stake this ground. I mean, it's pretty rare to be able to go in and stake a past producing high-grade copper mine and just have it open for staking, right? Even in Nevada, that's a bit unique. So we were able to, I think, take advantage of that opportunity. And, it's a very similar setup to Selena in that if it's almost kind of in reverse though, because in our case, we actually believe that porphyry is somewhere at depth sitting between the Delker mine and that anomaly to the left. And that porphyry is what is sourcing mineralization at the surrounding Medicine Springs area, right? So if you were actually look at a zonation pattern, if consider the big, the Delker mine area as the equivalent to the Butte Valley porphyry at Selena, and you're actually seeing mineralization then emanating out of that porphyry and zoning away. And so as you get farther away from the porphyry, you're seeing a drop in temperature of your fluids. And so you're seeing a transition from copper rich all the way to silver, lead, zinc rich by the time you get out to Medicine Springs. So we believe both systems are directly connected, and somewhere beneath, we hope, underneath the Delker mine and in that area is the causative porphyry that's feeding it all.
Okay, so then, but there have been some drill holes have been put into it, but they have been sort of vectored wrongly,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. I mean, I think there was Newmont was a historic operator on the project, and they were just looking for a different style of deposit at the time. They were hoping to find an outcropping, half percent, 1/4%, open pit copper mine porphyry at surface at Big Blue, and that's not really the style of deposit that we see here. We think we're actually something that would be probably a deeper, more high grade type of target, and that's evidenced by the over 2 kilometers of strike here, where you're getting anywhere up to 11% to 15% copper at surface, right? This is a very high grade system, and we think you need to track it at depth right here. And so some of the historic drilling was off the flanks of the Delker mine, like this guy here. This hole was drilled, it's drilled too shallow. It did not test the magnetic high at depth. And it was also kind of drilling along the same dip as these general structures that are all dipping this way back into that anomaly. So we would want to come in, kind of take a different approach, and we would want to come in and propose these holes right here. And those would firmly test beneath that Delker mine. We believe fluids are sourcing up these dikes, which you can map at surface, and they're what are mineralizing these open pits there, these old adits at surface. And somewhere down below, hopefully that all coalesces into a nice big porphyry.
How deep holes would you like to put in down?
Yeah, you'd want to see 500 to 700 meter drill holes. Yeah, but that would
What's
be
the cost of one?
You're looking at, you're looking at easily, $200,000.
Canadian or US?
US.
To have a decent chance of actually hitting something, how many holes would you like to put in?
I mean, you'd want to see an absolute minimum 3-hole fence directly beneath the Delker mine, like we've proposed here. But I mean, if we really liked what we saw with the deep IP survey, we'd probably want to get about 6 holes down.
So before drilling this, or you will do the IP, do you think that you would need another raise, or do you think that with your current cash balance you could squeeze in a few holes? Or how are you thinking around that?
With if we got an IP anomaly that just was incredible, right, and showed a big cohesive, chargeability high that extended for 2 kilometers directly underneath Delker and out into the valley, which is what we hope we'll see. Then yeah, we could go in and do a 2 or 3 hole cheap program, no problem. But again, not going to promise that to the markets or message that in any way. We just got to wait and see what we come up with, right? I mean, if we love what we see, we might be able to raise, to even do a small raise just to support that drill program, right? If our stock was moving up, you might even just raise $1 million more just to put holes in the ground there, right? But we don't have to. We could certainly drill this fence of holes with our current treasury.
Super. And then, so yes, quickly on your last project, could you just tell us about your 5th project and what the plan for this year is?
Yeah, Bell Creek is definitely a strategic asset for us. It's not something we're going to be doing any exploration work on. Reason being, it sits actually within the Nevada Gold Mines mine site, right? So there's actually a gate, a fence that completely encircles the mine site. We can't just drive up to Bell Creek. We have to check into their security, drive through their road network to even get to Bell Creek. We'd like to potentially find a partner. This is a deep project. We're talking about 1,000, probably more like 1,500 meter drill holes to test targets, which again, that's deeper than the kind of work we're willing to do. So it's kind of a strategic asset for us. We'd like to fold it into, if we could, fold it into the existing deals that we have with NGM, but we're also assessing third-party partnerships as well.
Super. And then, you have assembled a great team. You have a meaningful equity stake in the company. You have solid projects. You're doing the right thing with preserving capital structure and optioning out projects. You also have great shareholders like Rick Rule.
Yeah.
So, but despite that, I mean, you're not too far away from an all-time low in the share price.
Yep.
Why do you think that is the case?
Yeah, it's been really tough for I think a lot of the juniors over the last couple of years. So I wouldn't say that we're in any way unique in seeing us trading near all-time lows. I also think that it's been tough, right? Like the Selena project, as great as some of those drill intercepts that we've been able to deliver, the markets have kind of cooled on CRD expiration, right? They're not as excited about CRDs as they were, a couple of years ago when groups like Western Alaska Minerals made their original discovery. Those kind of, if you look, Western Alaska, I think is down almost 70% from their highs as well. So, even though they got an incredible deposit there. So, it's been a bit of a tough story to tell how that Selena discovery could really turn out to be something big. I think it's been tough to get shareholders' heads wrapped around it, but we're getting there. And really just, it's been a bit of a slow process with our partner projects, right? I mean, groups like Nevada Gold Mines, their main focus is slow and steady, right? So, the exploration market's pretty fickle and they want to see world-class intercepts every week from a company, right? So, it's been a bit of a slow slog for us, but I think things are really starting to turn around right now. This raise was good for us, allows us to keep moving, and I'm hoping that we can turn things around and get the stock, back into the 20-30 cent range by the fall.
Yeah, I'm quite confident at least that you have seen the all-time low has been reached and won't be.
I think we've bottomed. Yeah,
again.
I think we've definitely bottomed out. So, and heading
So
in the right direction now.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, with a stronger market, do you see yourself sort of pivoting away from the hybrid model and becoming more a traditional junior with drilling your own projects?
I think that I think what the great thing about this hybrid model allows us to be nimble, right? So when markets are tough, we can rely more heavily on our partnerships. If our stock gets back into the 50-60 cent range like we were trading in 2020, 2021, yeah, I'm gonna raise more capital and I'm gonna increase the amount of money going in the ground on our 100% owned projects. But the nice thing about the hybrid approach is it allows us to be flexible. Whereas I think if you're 100% drill and build explorer that is owns all their own projects, you are firmly you are committed, right? Whereas or if you're 100% prospect generator, it's difficult for you to suddenly go and drill holes because your shareholder base doesn't appreciate that. But I think where we've had success is people see that we have good deals. We have our great, we do a great job of generating our own projects, and hopefully a discovery comes, whether it's 100% owned or by one of our partners. Either way, it'd be incredibly meaningful for the company.
But as it looks now, is Big Blue the only project that you would like to keep and drill on your own, provided that the market doesn't really change materially?
I'd absolutely, if the markets were to improve, I'd absolutely drill Selena as well. But yeah, I'd say Big Blue is like the kind of project that in these kind of markets we can advance and hopefully have some success. 1,000-meter drill holes like are what are required at Chinchilla Sulfide. Those require a partner or a better market, but they're not the kind of those aren't the kind of holes that our company is going to drill in the current market environment. Doesn't mean it's not a great project, but we're trying to run a business here, right? We're not looking to blow out the company structure any more than we have to. And I think that would be the kind of very binary project or a very binary drill program. If we went and drilled Selena, we'd have to go raise 5+ million Canadian at a highly dilutive raise. If that drill program did not deliver a standout discovery, your stock goes back to 5 cents pretty quick, right? So I think we need to be careful of that.
Yeah, you don't want to go there. And what opportunities are you seeing in Nevada to stake new ground that could potentially be a game changer for Ridgeline?
Nevada's incredible. That's the thing that we're focusing on. Actually, porphyry copper exploration right now is what we're really trying to focus on, because we think that for the last 40 years, 95 to 98% of every junior that's been operating in Nevada, and major for that matter, everybody's been focused on Carlin type gold deposits. And what that has left is it's opened up opportunities for companies like ours to go into old districts that are porphyry copper plays and actually stake district scale assets like we did at Big Blue. And we're working on another opportunity right now that has us really excited. And it would be a district scale porphyry copper play with incredible potential. So That's the kind of opportunities we're going after.
Awesome. And then, so what royalties are there on your projects?
So at Swift, Black Ridge, and Selena, it's a 3.25% royalty held by EMX that can be bought down to 2.25, so that we can buy a 1% of that royalty back for $3 million US within the first 8 years of the deals. So yeah. So, and then our Big Blue project is royalty free since we staked it ourselves.
And Bell Creek?
Bell Creek has a 4% royalty that can be bought down to 2%, I believe. But honestly, I need to go back and look at that. That one's escaping me a little bit. But it's a 4% gross that I believe we can buy down to around 2.
Yeah. Have you engaged in any discussions with any larger companies for a strategic investment? Not on an asset level, but actually on company level.
I think every time we discuss potential deals with corporates, that is always in play, right? Is bringing on a strategic investor. That being said, kind of our business model, we're looking to, continue doing deals, and we hope that it's not just Nevada Gold Mines, right? We want to bring in other partners on other assets in the future. And, so having a strategic partner at this stage may not be the best move for us, right? Personally, I'd rather have 100% ownership at the corporate level of the company, right? Where we don't have a big strategic, because we have multiple cooks in the kitchen, right? Nevada Gold Mines, if we bring in another partner, you kind of want to make sure that there's competitive tension across both. So I think the best thing for us right now is keeping the projects at the deals at the project level. And if a discovery is made at any one of these projects, then we would consider a strategic investment from any one of those majors. But it would be at a significant premium.
Yeah, because you don't want at this current valuation, you don't want to.
No.
Yeah, you would basically give away a lot for very little money.
Yeah, you're giving away a lot, right? I'd rather do a raise and put those shares in the strong hands of shareholders than give those shares to a corporate at these prices, right? So, ideally, like Hercules did, they did a great job. They made that discovery, brought in a Barrick at a premium. That was a really great deal. That's something we'd always obviously consider with exploration success.
And then, so where do you envision Ridgeline Minerals in 2 years?
I hope it doesn't exist. Right? I hope we get bought. If Nevada Gold Mines goes and drills 25 meters at 10 grams per ton, in my head, I'd like to think we don't exist in 2 years, right? So, but realistically, I think 2 years from now, I hope that we're advancing a significant discovery at one of our partner projects, as well as working on our own 100% owned discovery. I mean, ideally, the best case scenario I'd love to see where we're providing multiple discoveries in our portfolio, some partner funded and others 100% owned. And I think that would be just incredible upside for our shareholders. So